Hey there, welcome to 2025. This is our first episode for season 2, and as promised in my first talking watercolor for 2025, we're going to kind of treat this as the start of a new semester, just like I'm going to be getting prepped and ready to go up at the university in a couple of weeks, get a whole new semester going. So I always like to kind of refresh and kind of go back to the basics and figure out exactly what everybody's needing to have, the fundamental things. It's kind of like my first day orientation class where we go over the supply list and the syllabus and all of that. So that's what we're going to do today in this video. Not a tutorial, not a demo or anything. We're just going to kind of talk about all the fundamental things, the supplies, the equipment that you may want to consider buying. Now, equipment, supplies, papers, all that stuff, it can be very confusing and kind of intimidating, but the first thing you need to know is really just don't worry about it. You can get by with copier paper, laser paper, and a standard HB pencil if you're just kind of getting started picking up drawing. With watercolor, you have a whole range of options. I know that the students, when I'm teaching my watercolor class, they come in with a whole range of various types of watercolor paints and this and that. Some are good, some are bad, but you can figure out how to work with whatever. And at the beginning stage, it doesn't really matter. You just need to get in and start practicing and developing those skills. So I'm going to just quickly kind of go over, starting with drawing, and I'll come into some of the things you're going to need with watercolor. And we'll just go from there and let you have fun. And I'll post all the things that I kind of cover here in this video today into my video description, so you can click on the links and go over to Amazon and get whatever supplies you deem appropriate and appropriate for your budget or what you're wanting to achieve. All right. So, and just remember, these are affiliate links. So if you do buy anything after clicking on these links, I will get a small commission to help out the channel. So I do want to thank you ahead of time if you do that. You really are helping me out and helping me to keep these videos coming. So, all right, let's get started. All right, so drawing. It isn't that complicated. You can get started with a standard Ticonderoga pencil with the eraser on the end and some laser paper, and you're going to be in business. You just start making marks, and that's going to be in another video coming up real quick. Is the fundamentals of the things you need to learn when learning how to draw is basically mark making. How do you make an interesting mark, a mark with character, a mark with intent, and a mark that's descriptive? A mark can do so many various things, and until you can wrap your head around how to add that character into the mark, your drawings are going to kind of feel kind of primitive and sketchy, right? So that's where we're going to start here with the types of devices to make marks. I have on my desktop a whole range of various things that you can draw with, right? You can come in and work with standard pencils. I have a couple of basic pencils where you might get these things as freebies from various people. Good pencils, they'll make a mark. And depending upon your skill set with mark making, they'll do just fine. So typically, I think this is an HB. Yeah, number 2, that's it. A number 2 pencil will work just fine. So then this is this one here is an HB, and you can see by the length of it, I use these quite a bit just in sketching and maybe prepping watercolors and things like that. So don't be afraid of just whatever pencils you have laying around. Erasers, there's all sorts of erasers. You got gum erasers right here, and you can see how much that's been used. You have kneaded erasers, and the cool thing about kneaded erasers is you can knead them into any shape you need and be able to pick them out. I've seen little mechanical erasers where you can get very fine tipped erasers, or if you're doing big drawings and you come in and erase a lot of nice details, that's working in the negative and things like that. So basic pencils, basic erasers. Of course, your basic pencils will also have the erasers on the end, but of course, depending upon how accepting you are of a mistake, your erasers may run out of you may run out of eraser before you run out of pencils. So but that's all right. Don't worry about erasing though. Use it as a tool, as a device to add detail or find those highlights. Don't always think you have to erase whatever a mistake is. You can just simply, if you're working light to dark, you can always just overpower the wrong marks with the correct marks. So I also have like a kohl erase. This is a non-repro blue pencil, an animator's pencil. These are fun to draw with. I like they have a nice tooth, all right? So they make a nice mark. I work with ebony pencils quite a bit. They're very dark. They're a lot of times in the range of a 6B pencil, but they do have a little more ability to hold a tip and a point than a standard HB drawing pencil. And then you have a whole range of charcoals to work with. Charcoals are nice because you can well, they're hard to sharpen, especially these charcoal pencils. So I typically will work with an X-Acto blade and whittle it down until I get a good exposure of the charcoal in it, and then I use this sandpaper board and sharpen them up to get a nice point. So you can then draw with either the points or the side of it to create tone. And then the nice thing about charcoal, and this works with pencils as well, is getting a drawing stump to where you can kind of smudge and smear and create tone. So that's the big thing you're trying to do with drawing, is to either make the decision, are you drawing linear type lines, or are you going to draw mass and shade and tone with it? And charcoal's really nice in that you can create a really nice tonal range first before you start coming in and drawing in all the details. So it's a matter of choice of which direction you're going to go. Are you going to sketch it out real tight with line first and then add the value in, or do you block it in with values, get all the big shapes right, and then come in and tighten it up with the line work and the linear work? So structure and detail. So anyway, that's kind of drawing. We also have a woodless charcoal pencil. So it's just a big hunk of compressed charcoal with a coating on it, so you don't get your fingers all dirty all the time. It's all right. I don't mind them. This is another charcoal pencil, a Derwent pencil, charcoal pencil. This is a medium hardness, so they got a soft, medium, and hard variation. Plus, you have a white charcoal as well. So if you need to pop back in some highlights, you can do that. And then just this nice. This is just a big hunk of compressed charcoal that I have also used the sanding board to sharpen up and create a tip and a point. There's also Conte crayons, and there's vine charcoal that you can work with. Vine charcoal's nice. It's more of a natural feel to it. I don't feel like they get quite as dark as a compressed charcoal. It depends on just the style you're working with and the things you discover you like working with. Conte crayons are nice. They're impressed into little rectangular cubes, right? Kind of elongated cubes. So they have like 4 edges on it. Depending on how you work with it, you always have a nice sharp edge to be able to draw a line with a Conte crayon. And they also come color pastels. They come that way as well. So if you're used to working with Conte crayons, the color pastels will work just the same way. So, and then also ink. You have a whole variety of choices with ink. You can work with the old standard nib, dip it into the inkwell and draw with the drawing nibs, which are typically a point, but they have a split down the center so that if you apply pressure, the line will be thicker, and so you get some line variation with a thick and thin pressure application when you're drawing that stroke. So there's that. I do have this is essentially that. So you have the nib with the split down the middle. This is a pressure sensitive drawing instrument. It's a throwaway. It's a Pilot Varsity pen. So if it runs out, you don't replace it. You just throw it out. It comes in packs of 6 or 7. And these are nice. I like drawing with them. They are not indelible. So if you draw with them and then add water on top of them, they'll fuzz up and smear and do all of that. So the nice thing about Sharpies is they are indelible. Once you make the mark, they won't react with water. So if you want to draw some marks and a sketch first with your ink and then come in with watercolor, which is a fun technique. It's a good way of, I think, introducing and getting accustomed to watercolor with some structure, the ink line being the structure. So Sharpies are fun, and they come in 2 different thicknesses. You got the extra fine tip here. Now the thing with Sharpies or microns, or actually the traditional rapidograph pens, are that they are a set width. No matter how hard you press, the width will not change. So you have to have a range of widths within a micron, and micron pens have a whole variety of thicknesses that you can buy, and or the traditional rapidographs. Rapidographs are great. I worked with rapidographs for years as a graphic designer before all the digital stuff came into being. The biggest pain in the butt with rapidographs are you got to use them, and if you don't, you need to clean them out, or they dry out and then they're a nightmare. You have to tear them apart and clean them out, throw them into some sort of a sonic bath of some fluid that will take all the chunks and the boogers out of the tube that leads the ink down to the paper. So yeah, they were a lot of fun. I liked working with them, but I think the Sharpies do a good job. The thing with Sharpies and markers, any kind of markers, especially maybe the Prismacolor the Prismacolor markers or the Coptic markers, is you'll need a special paper when drawing on that, and that would be like a Benfang 360 marker paper. That's designed specifically for markers, so that when you draw on it, it doesn't bleed through. 1, it doesn't bleed through, and 2, it doesn't spread. You'll see a lot of times when you're drawing with markers, as soon as you touch that down, that color just spreads all over throughout the paper. So those are definitely some of the options. I don't know if I've helped any, but that's the description of what you can do. Here's the Sharpie. This is the fine tip. These are fun, so you can draw maybe the shape and or a space with the extra fine tip, come in and fill in the shape with the bigger Sharpie. So those are some of the fundamental tools on the drawing side that you have to choose to work from. Paper wise, like I said, you can start with just standard basic copier paper or the laser paper that you can buy in at Walmart, or go over to Hobby Lobby. There's all sorts of pads. Your choice with paper pads, the sketch pads, you have drawing paper, sketch paper, you have the journals that you can get. Really good papers like Arch has a nice drawing paper that you can, if you're wanting to do a really nice drawing with either charcoal or pencil, and then you go into that. So they all have different tooth and textures to them. If you're wanting really fine detail, you want to work with a hot press paper, or an illustration board is even an option. Cold press typically has a texture, so if you're drawing with charcoal and you like that crunchy feel that a texture on the paper has, handmade papers, people use those as well. You're just going to have to experiment and play around with a lot of this, but as you're just getting started, just remember, work with the cheaper stuff first. As your hands and your eye and your skills develop, you can kind of tell when you're ready for the next step and to try something new. And you're going to find that maybe the more expensive things aren't the things that you like. And it might be just simply a matter you're not accustomed to them yet, and you just need to continue working with them. But as you're just getting started, getting off the ground, don't do anything real expensive. Just learn how to make a mark, learn how to make shapes, learn how to create tonal range, and learn how to create 3D form. And I'll be having some tutorials doing that really soon in some upcoming videos. So, all right, so that's real quick, an overview of getting started with drawing. We went through the whole host of tools, right? The pencils, the charcoals, the inks, and the sandpaper block. So go out there, get a few of these things, start playing around with it, and watch for the video about shapes, making tones, and mark making that should be coming up pretty soon. So, hey, it's been a good day talking with you. It's been a great day getting started in 2025, going over some of these fundamental things that'll get you off the ground and up and producing some pretty cool stuff this year. So keep watching, and if you got any value out of this video, please give me a like and a subscribe. and I'll see you the next time.